It's not hard to shepherd a church into being a more like church. The first year, you teach them to love one another and love themselves. The second year, you teach them to love their neighbor. And the third year, you teach them that some of their neighbors have not come into the church because the church has made them unwelcome. And after that, the rainbow flag just pretty much goes up automatically. So the Waltham Church is multicultural. The membership ranges from homeless to working middle class, and the largest identifiable group are transgenders and intersex. It's the only church I know of in the Boston area where cross-dressers can come dressed to church and nobody raises an eyebrow. Among the members there are Sarah Herwig and Jen Duhamel, both seminary graduates. Sarah came out of a conservative tradition and went to seminary at Gordon Conwell when she was, before she transitioned, and she graduated there only to realize that she could no longer tolerate living as a male. So she went to the session at her church and explained to them that she was going to have to transition. It was a conservative church. They made it fairly clear to her that she would not be welcome to remain under their care, and so she left the church and was gone for a number of years. She came back to our church because I found out that she was in the neighborhood and invited her to come speak to our young adult group about what it is to be transgender. We had become a more light church, but we hadn't talked to anybody who was transgender yet, so Sarah came. And her very first day in worship there, she heard the old Presbyterian forms that she had grown up with as a child, and she felt so at home that she decided to stay. It wasn't quite that quick because she was still scared, and so it took me a few lunches with Sarah, and I sent her to a More Light conference, and after that she decided the Presbyterian Church might be okay for her after all. So Jen grew up Roman Catholic, but she left the Roman Catholic Church because she could not find a home there. She liked the Unitarian polity better, so she moved over to the Unitarian Church. She went to seminary, and she was getting ready to come under care of the Unitarians when she and Sarah met, and she came to visit us at the Waltham Presbyterian Church. And one night when we were in the midst of Bible study, Jen very tearfully discovered that Jesus Christ loved even her. And so she became a Christian again, back from the Unitarians, back into the Trinitarian fold, and became the lead teacher in our one-room Sunday school, joyfully, excitedly teaching the children, Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Yeah. So when Jen and Sarah announced their engagement, the whole congregation rejoiced. We were so happy. The Supreme Court of Massachusetts had ruled 3 years earlier, in 2004, that equal justice for same-gender couples means equal access to marriage. And I entered into premarital counseling with them in the firm conviction that they had every right not only to be married in Massachusetts, but also to be married among their Christian family in the church. So, and just to be sure that I wasn't way out in front of the parade and the parade wouldn't follow, I brought this up with the session, and they said, yes, indeed, this is exactly what we want to have happen. And so we all decided to joyfully celebrate this marriage in our church. As I considered the situation in the Presbyterian Church USA, what I understood was that ministers had been told that we do have the right to bless same-gender unions. And in fact, in 2004, the General Assembly had urged the church to work for equal justice for same-gender couples, while at the same time they were retaining the definition of marriage as a civil contract between a man and a woman. I also knew that we had been instructed through interpretations of our Constitution that when we bless civil unions, we should not use the marriage liturgies, nor should we call them marriages. But here's the thing. In Massachusetts, I wouldn't be blessing a civil union and calling it a marriage. In Massachusetts, I would be officiating a legal marriage and doing that as an agent of the state, as ministers have done since the time of John Calvin. So to my mind, the church has just not caught up with the reality in these 5 states now and the District of Columbia, where to define marriage as a civil contract means to include same-gender couples in the definition. Either it is a civil contract or it isn't. In Massachusetts, there's no such thing as civil unions. Equal justice is equal marriage. So I could either go against the avowed intention of the church to pursue equal justice for same-gender couples, or I could do what I believe Jesus would have me do and give these good members of our church family the marriage they deserved within the heart of the congregation. Not to do so would have been to tell them that Jesus doesn't love them as they are. That the grace of God is for the rest of us and not for them. That they are not holy enough to stand and be married before God in God's sanctuary. I married them on March 1 of 2008, officiating at the vows and signing the license. Afterwards, somebody told me that I should have let someone else do the vows and sign the license, but that seemed deceitful to me and unlike Jesus. Wouldn't Jesus say that even to be there with prayers of blessing is the same as doing the marriage? Signing the paper isn't what makes the difference. It's what's in the heart that counts. Isn't that what Jesus would say? I was their pastor, and it was my duty, and not only my duty, my joy, to be there with them and to give them pastoral care in this way. They wanted their pastor to marry them, and I married them. Boston Presbytery is a small place. I think it was about a minute and a half when the Newton Presbyterian Church found out that we had a marriage over at our church and that I had officiated at it, and I got a call from their pastor saying, "What